All right. You are in the right place. And if you're interested in checking out our services and pricing, you can check that out at taco.bio/. We're going to talk today about price per subset, which is a simple, easy measure to compare pricing in cytometry. And just a reminder, our mission at TACO is to make high parameter cytometry routine and simple for clinical trials. So the problem that we're going to discuss today is how to compare which one of these is better value for your money. You've got an 8-marker panel flow that's $800 on the left-hand side, and the output is FCS files and gating. In the right-hand side, you've got a $1,250 panel with 25 markers. Again, similar outputs. And we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end in terms of what happens if these outputs vary. So the naive way to compare these is just look at headline prices. You've got an 8-marker panel and 25-marker panel. Applying an IQ test, we find that $800 is lower than $1,250. But we think there might be a better way to look at these. So let's take dividing by markers. $800 divided by 8 gets you to $100 per marker. $1,250 divided by 25 gets you to $50 per marker. By this measure, the panel offers a better value on a per marker basis. But even this approach misses resolution. So if you look at an 8-marker panel, again, $800, that's $100 per marker. When you actually look underneath the hood and plot out all of the individual immune subsets, turns out this 8-marker panel gets you to 52 subsets. So that's starting over here at T cells, going down all the way to these individual subtypes, and looking at the potential number of functional markers analyzed. So 800 divided by 52 gets you to $15.38 per subset. Let's apply that same logic to $1,250 and the 25-marker panel. Remember, the price per marker was $50, just divided by 25. We are going to use the spectral flow panel that we use at TACO, but feel free to use whatever marker panel you have at home. And then if you plot out this subtree, this ends up being 298 subsets on our side, but your tree may vary. We're not going to bore the reader with the calculation, but we computed all the individual subsets over here and all the functional state markers. And then we took 1,250 and divided by 8, and we got to $4.19 per subset. So we think this measure, price per subtype or price per subset, is a much more reflective measure of the value that these different offerings bring. So an $800 panel divided by 52 subsets gets you to $15 per subset. A $1,250 panel divided by 298 subsets gets you to per subset. And by this measure, the $1,250 panel is a big winner. So what? Why would a drug developer care about any of this? If you remember, the original task is to compare which of these is better value for your money, and there are different ways to do that. So let's plot that out. And if you look at these different offerings, so on the x-axis, you've got the naive way, the better price per marker, and the much better price per subset. On the y-axis, you've got the 8-marker price divided by the 25-marker price minus 1. So again, this is price depending on the method. First, the naive way, the $800 offering looks a lot cheaper than the $1,250 offering. So this one seems like a better value, but the calculus is almost completely inverted as you just look at price per marker. And then as you get to price per subset, the calculus gets even better. So let's look at that in table form so we can really understand the data. So remember, we have the 8-marker panel and the 25-marker over here. We have cost per specimen. We have the number of markers on each panel, the corresponding number of subsets, the price per marker, and the price per subset. And this is the measure that we're going to talk about, which is the percent change from 25 to 8. So this is the naive way. This 1,250 looks more expensive than 800. But then as you start to look at price per marker, it starts to get better. As you look at price per subset, much better. We think this is the best way to compare value across different cytometry offerings. Now, the casual reader might have noted that we're just comparing the similar outputs if both of these are FCS and gated files. But really, a drug developer cares about price per unanalyzed subset, the ability to do statistical comparisons. Are T cells at day 1 different from T cells at day 14, et cetera? And then even more sophisticated is a price per subset of samples that actually work. For example, on fresh blood, about 10 to 20% of those samples fail, and this method that we're describing doesn't yet account for that kind of sample failure. If you'd want to compare against price per subset that actually works, that might be something to consider in future directions. So hopefully you enjoyed this webinar and this metric makes sense to you. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us at taco.bio. And if you want to check out our pricing, check out taco.bio/. Thanks for signing on.